Welcome, everyone, to episode 59 of Hammer Time, the only home in the entire world for the Pittsburgh Maulers. Of course, I'm joined by my co-host, my good friend, Alex. How are you?
I'm great, Webb. How are you?
I'm good. This is a big one. We got 2 years experience, Pittsburgh Mauler, Malcolm Elmore. How are you, Malcolm?
I'm doing good. Thanks for having me on, man. Excited to be here.
Of course, I think you're the last captain we're waiting for. I think we got all the captains now, so we saved the best for last, right?
That's right.
We'll start there. How was that election process, and what did it mean to you to be? You're in a room full of like Reuben Fosters and former NFL guys, and you're a small school guy yourself. To be elected captain of the Pittsburgh Maulers.
Well, it's a huge honor. I didn't expect it, although I've always tried to be a leader at every program I went to. I got voted captain. I was only 3-time captain at the college I went to. I was a captain in high school. But, I knew I have a couple of great starting safeties, ahead of me. So I knew that I might not be able to make my mark starting on defense. So I just try to make my mark any way I can, being a leader, leading by example. And when I got voted captain, we just do a paper ballot. Everyone votes for who they think, two offense, two defense, two special teams, and it was a huge honor. Excited, and really blessed to get that opportunity.
That's awesome. So 2 years you've been with the Maulers, and obviously year one was a disaster. Year two was a magical ride. What was the biggest difference in your eyes since you were the captain?
I think definitely the camaraderie. You could tell year one everyone was kind of no one really talked to each other that much. Offense had their groups, defense had their groups. Year two, man, everyone's joking around in the locker room. Everyone's hanging out, going out with each other. Going to team events. We probably did something with the team 3 times a week after practice. We had a great practice schedule. We're able to get out around noon. So in the afternoons we'd go hang out. We'd go bowling. Just go do fun team activities, and then everyone's in the locker room. Defense and offense are all having a good time with each other. Everyone trusts each other. That offense trusts the defense trusts the offense. Everyone trusts special teams. It was just the camaraderie and the trust, I think, between all 3 sides of the football.
Talk about camaraderie. Will Miles, college teammate, and now you guys are playing, small school in Missouri, and now you guys are playing professional football, getting paid to play football together. What does that mean for your program, and how cool was that?
Dude, it's freaking awesome, man. I would have never guessed that in a million years. The fact that we even ended up at the same college was wild in itself, and then being able to play professional football with each other on the same team, I don't even know if there's anyone else on our whole team or anyone else in the USFL that gets that chance. So, it's an awesome opportunity.
That's great. Was there a moment this past season that all of a sudden it clicked? Because obviously it was a rough start. Offense wasn't performing, the defense was standing out, and then all of a sudden it seemed like you guys could beat anyone. And outside of one game with the Stallions, which they seemed to have a perfect night, you guys were on top of the world.
Right. Well, I don't know if there was a specific moment when that happened, but it just seemed like it seemed like even after week 1, we knew we're just losing games on our own. Teams aren't really crushing us. We're just making small mistakes. And once we got that cleaned up, we went on a roll. So I think we knew from the beginning that all these teams, they're not just better than us. Even, looking back last year they were better than us. This year we knew from the beginning, these guys, they're not. No, we can play with them, we can beat them, and then we went on to prove that.
Going back to 2022, you were picked in the supplemental round. What was that process like? Because you didn't get picked in the first 30 rounds, whatever it was, and then all of a sudden they have this. It could be anyone, and you get the phone call in the 5th round.
Well, that was actually that kind of happened out of nowhere because I was fresh out of rehab and a shoulder injury. I had a shoulder. I was with the New York Giants, and I got released for a shoulder injury. Ended up having surgery for that, and then my agent, he told me he's gonna put your name in the draft pool. I was like, all right, man, I'm out. I'm rehabbing, training, I'm ready. And then I can't remember what I was doing. I think I was watching my high school football game. I think they were semifinals of state or something, and I just got a text that the Pittsburgh Maulers signed me, and Coach Kerb called me. And I was like, all right, man, I'm out. I'm ready. And then I think I was watching a high school football game. I think they were semifinals of state or something, and I just got a text that the Pittsburgh Maulers signed me, and Coach Kerb called me. And it was like kind of like the same reaction I had when I got signed by the New York Giants, because it just kind of happened. You have high hopes, but hope for the best and prepare for the worst. So it was an awesome thing to get that phone call. Super blessed and humbled I did. I know there's a lot of guys, a lot of guys deserving of that. So I'm just glad I got an opportunity, and I'm going to continue to take advantage of that.
So you talked about your high school before show. You're still connected to your high school, correct?
I am, yes. I go and talk to them. I try to every year or every other year go talk to them before the season starts. Give them some words of wisdom, some motivation, and they're pretty good every year. We have my high school coach is great. I'm not sure if he's lost 30 games, and I think he's been coaching well over a decade. So,
wow.
Yeah.
Alex, you got anything on the Maulers?
Yeah. Who's the you mentioned that you guys did a lot of team events and fun stuff together. You mentioned bowling, and I happen to like bowling too. I'm not a good bowler. Who's the best bowler on the team? Who's the worst?
Oh my God, there's so many bad bowlers. Will Miles is not a good bowler. Any of those D linemen or O linemen, they're not good bowlers. The best bowler, I think that it either go between. We got a few of them now. Kirk, he's one of them. He's a lefty. He's real smooth with it. I don't know how he got so good. One of my good friends, Keith Gibson.
Yep.
He's hot and cold, but when he's hot, he's over 200 constantly. And then I think a wild card, Isaiah Henney. I tell you what, that dude, he's just good at everything. I don't know how. I know he comes out, he's talking trash, trying to put up money for bowling. I'm agreeing to it for some reason. I don't know why, and he's taking my money. But yeah, he's good. Yeah, we got a few good ones.
That's pretty cool. No, that's good. I think it's great that you guys had a practice schedule where you get out, because you bond so much. You talked about the bonding process, and we kind of saw the team, you could almost feel the team from a distance growing together even as the season went on. And you touched on it earlier. We've touched on a lot on the show. Best 4-6 team in football, maybe in football history, because if you go back and peel the onion back on that season, we're a couple of plays away from being 9-1.
Right.
Easily being 9-1. But appreciate all the work on special teams. Also, the other piece of that too, and again, not to jump too far ahead, but the elephant in the room, the USFL and XFL have announced that the intent to merge is now approved by the federal government. It looks like it's going to happen. Could you give me, just your sense from, let's keep it to a special team sense. Okay. So one of the big debates, I'm not a huge fan of the XFL kickoff. I like the more traditional USFL kickoff. I think it allows for bigger plays, allows for guys to showcase their skills a little more. But I'm not a player anymore. What are your thoughts on the difference in sort of the kickoff rule, USFL and XFL?
Oh, I love our kickoff. I love our kickoff. I think that's one of the ways where I can stand out, because I know I'm gonna beat every person down on the field. I'm talking to dudes. It's kind of like a competition too. Like I'm telling the dude next to me, "Hey man, you gonna beat me or what this time?" And they're like, "All right, yeah." And they never do. But it's a. I think it's just better all around for the sport. More room for competition. You get to showcase play. People who may not be starting on defense, they get to showcase their athleticism some to NFL teams and scouts. You can see how fast they are. I think it's just more opportunity and another avenue to showcase some of our abilities.
Couldn't agree with you more. And I think if you look at special teams as a whole, some of the most exciting plays in football, the kickoff return, a punt return, a block punt, the big plays. And I just think the USFL got it right in terms of the not eliminating the kickoff game with the extra points. The XFL model is a little different in that you have to, sort of go for the point, run an offensive play to get the 1 point, the 2 or the 3. So I think they took away from the kicking game there a bit. But I've always thought the kickoff return is one of the most exciting plays in football. And you can see games change on a dime. And I'm hopeful that with this merger and as the rules come forward, thanks for validating me too, Malcolm, as well. Because
yes.
I would have looked pretty silly, as much as I've complained about the XFL kickoff, if you'd gotten on here as a player and said, "Man, I love it. It's the coolest thing in the world."
No.
We're about 10 yards away from each other and butt heads.
And the thing about that, I think fans don't like that either. Everyone I've talked to, that's their, they'll not a lot of people. A lot of people confuse the USFL with the XFL, and they're like, "Man, your kickoff." I'm like, "No, that's not us. We don't do that. We don't do that kickoff."
Well, it's interesting too because I haven't seen it. Now, granted, I haven't gone to look for it, but obviously the big swing, I guess, or the switch to go into the XFL kickoff was for safety reasons. But I've never seen data to show that the USFL or the normal kickoff or how we kicked off back in the day when I played is any different. The rule, the injuries rather. Can you show me? Or where's the data saying that the XFL rule is so much more is safer than the USFL kickoff format? I haven't seen that. I don't even know if it exists.
Right. And I think they've eliminated most of that whenever they took away a lot of the kickoff teams running starts. So I think that took away a lot of the injuries, and then they got rid of the wedge. So I think that's where most of the injuries happen. So I think the new kickoff, I'm not sure how much safer it is, but I think they eliminated a lot of the injury risk by making those two adjustments.
We had, and then I'll kick it back to you, Webb, to drop the hammer. But you mentioned wedge, and I went back about 30 years when I was coaching. We had a double wedge we used to run on people. So they'd kick off to us, and we would have one guy set the wedge and then another wedge in behind it. And it was like, look out, guys, here we come. And the idea is you'd see the C part. That first wave would hit them, and then that second wave would hit him. And if we got enough of a seam, he could slip up in there and go. But that's old school football right there.
Right. And the kickoff teams, they had a wedge buster.
That's it. That was his job. Go bust up the wedge. You're exactly right. That's CTA waiting to happen.
That is.
All right, Webb, I picked his brain. You can drop the hammer on both of us if you want.
Well, before we go to that, we're going to go to college real quick. Central Methodist. Talk about how much that is a special place to you. You spent 4 years there.
Yep. Well, I came out of a small high school, and coming out of a small high school, doesn't matter how good your stats are, unless you're going, which I didn't get to go to a lot of camps growing up. So unless you're going to those camps early on to put your name on the map, you're coming from my area, you're really not going to get your name out there. So Central Methodist, they took a chance on me, gave me, I didn't have a lot of offers. They gave me one of the offers I had. So obviously they'll always have a special place in my heart. One of my favorite coaches I've ever had was from there. My DB coach, LaQuinton Black. Love that guy to death. And then, just being able to get this opportunity that I got was because of my head coach. He took a chance on me. He put my name out there, invited me to junior pro day where I was able to perform. And he had a lot of connections in the NFL. So I think I owe everything to Central Methodist. And I definitely wouldn't be in this position without that school.
Talk about high school and how much you stood out. 32 touchdowns, man, on offense. And then you end up being a defensive player. Why the switch to defense when you dominated on offense?
Yeah, like 32 touchdowns my senior year. Yeah, I broke the school record. I ended up being going to Central Methodist as an offensive player, running back / receiver. I would have never in a million years thought I'd be a defensive player. I love having the ball. Love scoring touchdowns. And then it just happened my freshman year. We had I was probably third running back on the depth chart. Before the first game, we had like 3 or 4 injuries in the secondary. They said, "Malcolm, you played safety in high school." I said, "Yeah, I can cover someone, obviously." They threw me at corner one practice, and I picked off our starting quarterback 3 times in that practice. And then they said, "You're just going to start," and I, been there ever since.
Got to get those athletes, man. That's why you need dudes. It translates, You're
That's
a
right.
football player. You can play on the offensive side of the ball, and you're a good athlete. They flip you over to the other side, coach them up, get them ready to go, and go get them.
That's right.
And you said you're helping out your high school now. Are you coaching or just helping out?
No, not coaching. Not coaching. Just just try to help out when I can.
And they're still playing, obviously.
No, they actually just got eliminated. The team that beat me, they have a dynasty going. Lamar, that we've lost to them. They've won about like 8 straight state titles. So we just got knocked out by them. I think we'll get them eventually. Just this wasn't the year for it. But we had a good football team. That was their only loss of the season. But they'll be back again next year.
You ready to drop the hammer?
Ready.
All right, drop the hammer. Learn a little bit about you outside of football. If we're making a movie about your life, Who's starring as Malcolm Elmore?
Who's starring as Malcolm Elmore? Oh, let's go with Michael B. Jordan.
Okay. All right.
Michael B. Jordan.
Well, at least. Yeah, go ahead.
He's an athlete. Put him in, you get him in Rocky. You see what he can do. He's a good-looking guy. Obviously, I bring the looks. No, not really, but not really. But he's one of my favorite actors. I like him. I also like oh shoot, Ryan Reynolds. Ryan Reynolds is a hilarious guy. One of my favorite actors. But he doesn't look much like me, so he probably wouldn't get the role.
The Michael B. Jordan, I'll tell everyone this. Savion Williams said Michael B. Jordan for him. Like you, at least, like Michael B. Jordan can go by as a DB, right, or a wide receiver.
Yep.
But a D tackle like Savion Williams, there's no way Michael B. Jordan can go that way.
No. I'll say I've gotten a lot that I look like Devin Booker too, but he's not an athlete. So
that works. Favorite sport outside football?
Basketball, for sure.
Do it.
For sure.
Who's your team? Who's your squad that you run with?
In the NBA?
Yeah, in the NBA.
Right now, I'm more of a fan of players. Kansas City doesn't have an NBA team, so I'm not a bandwagon. I'm not a bandwagon player. I like Kevin Durant. I like Damian Lillard a lot. He's one of my favorite players, and then obviously I like LeBron. But yeah, in terms of college, I don't really have a college team either. Coming from a small college, I'll fill out a bracket every year, but I don't really have a home team that I'm able to root for.
So growing up, you didn't have a college team? Yeah, like you didn't choose Kansas or Mizzou?
I rooted for Mizzou. I rooted for Mizzou over Kansas. Obviously, that's definitely the wrong choice, but I picked the wrong fan base for basketball. Picked the wrong fan base for basketball.
You're controlling music in the locker room. What are the guys listening to?
Oh man, you picked that. That's the one question you don't. That is not for me. I'm not a music guy. I just don't listen to music everywhere. I'll listen to podcasts, listen to sports podcasts, listen to science podcasts. Even when I'm working out, if I'm listening to music, I'm listening to throwback rap, classic hip hop, R&B.
College football came out today. The top 4. Do you agree or do you disagree?
Oh, I agree. I love it. I love chaos. It didn't come from a big school, so I just want to see all the big school fan bases. Someone pissed off at each other. I was hoping Texas got left out. That way I could see all that controversy. I think FSU did deserve to be in, but I don't think they're one of the best 4 teams. But I think they definitely deserve to be in. What else are they supposed to do besides win? But yeah, I guess I would say they got it right. I think they got the 4 best teams in. So I don't disagree with what they did.
You don't think Georgia's one of the top 4 teams in the country?
Well, I do, but I just don't think they can leave out a conference champ for Georgia. I do think Georgia is one of the best 4 teams, but I think there's an argument to be made for all 4 of those teams to be the best 4 teams. All 5 of those teams to be the best 4 teams.
Don't get him started on Georgia, Malcolm. Don't get
is that your team? Is that your team?
No, it's not. I live in South Georgia. I grew up in Connecticut, so like I don't really have a team per se. Like I watch college basketball. You know what I mean?
Right. You had a few injuries, so I think that kind of sucked. But I do think they're one of the top 4 teams. But who would they put them in over? Because they can't put them in over Alabama, and Alabama was at 4.
And they can't put them in over Washington, even though they're probably better than Washington.
Yeah, they are. But I think so. But and Washington beat Texas, so.
One argument that I read was, why are they even putting Michigan with all the controversy around them? They're just in 3 years, they're just going to avoid the national championship anyway. So why not just take them out now?
Hey, wouldn't argue with that.
To go back to football, Jaron Horton, like I told you before, really recommended you as an interview. He thought you'd be a great interview. Talk about that relationship that you've developed over the past 2 years with Coach Horton as your DB coach, defense coordinator, whatever.
I love Coach Horton. He's definitely come to be one of my favorite coaches I've ever had. He's such a smart guy. He's not like those old school like rah guys. He's super chill. He's a player's coach. He'll get he'll listen to the players and then do what's best for the team based on that information. And he's just so smart. It just seems like he takes in information faster than most people, which is why he's in the positions he's in at such a young age. But he's such a good coach. You know, I definitely come to love and appreciate his coaching style. And like I said, he's super chill. He's not going to yell at you, even though he gets animated in the press box. He doesn't. You don't see
I
that.
was just about to ask you that.
Yeah, you don't see that in the locker room. You don't see that in the film room. If you mess up, he expects you to. You're pros. He expects us to fix our own mistakes and make those corrections on our own. And if we don't, you know, he'll find someone who will. So he expects us all to be pros, and that's a player relationship connection that I appreciate, because I'm always going to do whatever, take care of my business on and off the field, make sure I'm watching plenty of film, understand concepts. You know, in terms of what he's taught me, I came from a small college, so we were running really basic defense, and his defense is not that at all. It's very complex, but I was able to pick it up pretty quickly, and you know, I think it's awesome for us. He's able to adapt. Last year we ran a lot of man. This year we didn't run as much man at all, and it worked better for us. But yeah, definitely love that man.
Talking about the press box, him and Steve Meyer. It seems like one was really hot, and then one was like cool and like kept everything calm, and then the other one would be really hot, and then the other one's calm and cool. Talk about that dynamic between the two of them.
The good cop, bad cop dynamic.
Yeah.
Huh? Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
I'd say they're like in the press box, but you know, in the film room and on the practice field, they're pretty much on the same page. If I couldn't, you know, Coach Horton, he's the defensive coordinator, so sometimes he'd be too busy. I knew I could go to Coach Myers, and he answered my questions. And if he didn't know, he'd, you know, get it from Coach Horton. He'd shoot me a text or give me a call or meet with me to you know, help get that corrected. And in terms of availability, anytime I wanted to watch film outside of practice or regular field times, they would always make time. So super appreciative on that front.
That's awesome. Alex.
We had Coach Meyer on the show, and he's an impressive guy. We've had Coach Horton on the show. We've talked to him a few times, and he's equally as impressive. But I really liked Coach Meyer, and just a really good guy. And I mean, the whole group. I mean, every Mauler we've had on the show, yourself included, speaks so highly of the coaching staff, their teammates. It just is such a wonderful, wonderful culture that it looks like you guys have created. And we're hopeful. We're very, very hopeful that we're going to get a chance to do it again in 2024. And, you know, thrilled to have you with us. One thing I did want to ask you, though, you talked a little bit about Central Methodist and whatnot. You talked about going back and talking to high school kids. We have younger kids that watch our show, high school kids, middle school kids. And I always like to hear it straight from the professionals. You know, a couple of words of advice, a couple of words of wisdom that you could pass on to kids that may be watching this show.
Well, one thing that our head coach, Ray Horton, kind of told us this year is that his favorite word was opportunity. And I couldn't agree with that more. My whole life has been a circumstance of opportunity. My freshman year of high school, ended up having the starting running back of our team get hurt like early in the year. I took over. And in the first game, I had 3 touchdowns, ended up keeping that job. I got an opportunity there. And then the same thing, you heard my story when I went to college. I got an opportunity to play defense, and I took advantage of it. So I think the main thing would be just anytime you get an opportunity, no matter how big or how small, just make sure you take advantage of that opportunity and keep grinding, keep putting in the work, and people will notice. People will pay attention to that, even if you think they're not, and you'll get another opportunity. And, you know, you keep stacking opportunity on top of opportunity, and eventually it'll pay off.
Great advice. I hope that the young guys and gals that are listening to the show will let that sink in, because you're exactly right. Focus on where you are, do the best job in the job that you're in right now, and things will take care of themselves downstream. So appreciate you sharing that with us.
No problem.
So we've reached the end zone. This is our time where you can give shout outs to family, friends, Mauler Nation. Anything you want to promote at high school, college, whatever, the floor is yours.
I don't have a lot to promote, but, you know, just want to give a shout out to my family. I'm from Kansas City. They come out, they try to make it to every game they can up in Canton, you know, driving. They came to, I think, probably 4 or 5 games, which is super far away. So shout out to them. You definitely wouldn't be in where I am without them and their support. And then a shout out to my DB coach from Central Methodist, LaQuentin Black. He's a great man. He's not with Central Methodist anymore, but he's a great coach and even better man. He reaches out to me all the time, checking on me, and I appreciate him to death. And I for sure wouldn't be nearly the DB or athlete or football player I am without him.
That's awesome. Well, thank you, Malcolm. We hope to see you in 2024 with the black and gold.
Yep, no problem. Thank you, guys.
All right, this has been Hammer Time.